what the heck do you expect at the event? This is a collaborative storytelling event. And what the heck does that mean? So, what that means is it's kind of like going around a campfire and each of you is telling a chunk of a story. The only difference is in this environment, there are times where you're going to play a villain and you're going to play a hero. You're going to play a prince in distress. You're going to play uh, kind of like a catalyst to an engine, a mentor, something like that. And you're going to push people into story. And it happens to everybody because you have no idea what the butterfly effect is on any information that you hand out to people, any ways that you communicate. And the goal is to tell the best story as a community. It's not the best story for you, it's the best story as a community. And so you have to partner with people. You have to work with people as you proceed through this game. Talking about just some language, we talk about players and we talk about characters. They are different. A player is who we care about the most. Players always come first. Characters do not. There are times where your character may be frustrated, your character may be upset, sad, something like that. And what ends up happening is there's something that we call bleed, where that transcends over to the player, and the player becomes upset or sad or something like that. And in those instances, that's when we want to make sure that we are focused on the player and taking care of the player first. Everyone attending this game is 21 plus. You're all adults. You all know what you need. And so we do look to you to remove yourself from the scene, to ask for help or something like that, if that's where we're at. And it does happen. I've absolutely, it turns out I'm a very weepy individual. I will absolutely just start crying during a scene, like very frequently. It's just who I am. I'm just like, oh God, the scene's so beautiful. So I just start weeping. It happens to the best of us. And weirdly, I don't associate with that with the character actually crying. It's probably just Benji crying because I'm like so overwhelmed and enamored with whatever is happening in the scene. Our world is a balance of discovery versus agency. So sometimes in these types of environments, it's very sandbox. We hand you a character sheet. You are in a room full of people. You get to start writing your own story. So, because this game has so many first time players, we actually did want to provide some discovery on top of the agency. And what that does is it allows us to kind of have this one replayability to the game, but it also allows people to just go into the environment kind of like an escape room, and you just start discovering different elements, different plots, and kind of uncovering different stories and pulling on those threads. That's the purpose of discovery in my mind versus agency. Agency is how, for instance, let's say somebody wants to kill my character and I'm just looking for the best dang plot for my character. So we sit down and negotiate it. And by that negotiation, it provides me with the agency to decide if my character dies or not. You can't really go up to somebody and go, I kill your character, or I do this to your character without that pre-consent type of thing. You need to negotiate some boundaries and some rules. And so in this instance, every single kind of story like that, we want to make sure that that's all negotiated in advance. So players should never really be that surprised, especially when another player is influencing or affecting their character. Our other philosophy is play to lose. Some of you may already be familiar with this, but for the new players, this is freaking critical. So please pay attention. Play to lose is this idea that you are not playing to win, you're playing to lose. The idea is that shed everything you know about games. Just shed it. It does not matter in this instance. Collaborative storytelling is a game because we are yes-anding and improving and kind of playing off of each other. But it is not your goal to score points, win, kill as many players or anything like that. That is not the point of this event. If you find yourself wanting that type of event, you may need to look for another event. And I strongly encourage that. But this event in particular is a play to lose environment. So go in and be prepared to not have what you want happen, to be the villain of someone else's story, things like that. You need to have that mental flexibility built in prior to the event to be able to deal with the things that you're not expecting. Something I would like to talk a little bit about as well is storytellers and staff. Staff is like our blanket term for anyone who's helping out with the event, volunteers, our safety room, any the people setting up lights and music and all sorts of stuff. The storytellers in this instance are a really specific type of staff. Every single group, every single kingdom inside of the game will have a storyteller. With storytellers, they are your on floor during the event people to go to if you have a wardrobe malfunction, if you are unsure of what to do. So for the new players, storytellers are someone that you can really lean on if you have questions. And they're just always present and always available. They will not have plot of their own. They're actually paid members of the staff, and their job is to solely support our players. They will be observing our players and ensuring that they are in a state of mental safety. If they see something kind of going awry, they may ask if you'd like to step out or something like that. Obviously, if there's a medical injury or something, they're going to be the first one to come find somebody from the safety room or something like that. We will actually have nurses at the event as well for any sort of medical instances and things like that. Storyteller's job is yes and. You bring them a wacky idea, let's figure out how it can happen. We never ever want to block story or plot from occurring. So we really do follow a yes and improv kind of format. And our goal is not to put our world or the narrative over something that you want to happen to the character. We may help calibrate it so it doesn't break immersion in the world. That's the most critical thing here, because whatever your idea is, it's going to radiate out and impact everyone else's game. So we just want to make sure that your idea has the veneer that would fit into the world typically. But we will yes and the shit out of it and really help you bring it to life. One thing I would like to talk about is code of conduct, harassment, inclusivity. We are a queer, positive, friendly environment. I absolutely will not tolerate racism. I will not tolerate homophobia. I will not tolerate transphobia. I will not tolerate ageism. Any sort of thing like that on site. Once we catch wind of that, players will be removed from the space. You can obviously stay in your hotel, but we will not allow you to continue inside the game. We all are just trying to do our best and tell the best story. And so that's my hot take on this. So as people do enter in the environment, I need you to be incredibly respectful of everyone who's coming in. I found out a lot of these events, people pre-write scenes, they pre-negotiate stuff months in advance. And what that does is it doesn't actually allow organic story to grow when we're actually collected together as a community. So I highly encourage people not to plan ahead. I highly encourage people just to read your freaking sheets. That's all the information you need. It's really great to make ties and learn who's who in advance, but we do not expect pre-work. And so be respectful of the players who don't actually have the time to do that pre-work. That's our biggest ask. A lot of people get so excited about these events, and I love that. But the thing is the reality is we're all working adults. We may not actually have the time to build those connections and build those relationships over Facebook or whatever in advance. So we really do rely on a couple key moments to do that. So we'll provide you with groups on Facebook and things like that, along with workshops that are designed to kind of stitch the kingdoms and the people together. But it is not expected for you to do that on your own in advance. And in fact, I highly discourage it. So regarding triggering content, there's a lot of content that I put into it that I find personally triggering. It's my experience. The world is an art. We designed it as kind of a way for us to have an outlet for an expression and for us to kind of express, things that have impacted us as we were writing it. So there is a lot of kind of different types of triggering content. We will absolutely do our best to let you know when we think it's coming or if it's in a character sheet or something like that. But the thing is please, 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 we need you to be an adult about this, be flexible, understand that we cannot always cover all the bases. All we can kind of do is signal that something may be happening. And so if you do find something triggering, please remove yourself from a scene, step out of it. It's on your own volition to move your feet and step out of the scenes. There will actually be very qualified staff to help manage if something does escalate beyond that. So let's talk a little bit about consent mechanics. Inside of Real Royalty, we have dynamic negotiation and slow escalation. This is two types of ways to calibrate a scene without breaking the immersion. So that means, like, instead of me stopping the scene, pulling someone aside and saying, hey, here's how I'd like things to go. Is that cool? Okay, let's do it. Instead of doing that, you can do different kind of hand signals. You can do different language that indicates to another player that you would like to increase the intensity of the scene, or that you would like it to stay neutral or stay where it's at, or that you would like to decrease the intensity. Additionally, there's hand signals to stop the scene entirely. Let's imagine that you are meeting someone for the first time and there's this Inigo Montoya moment, and they come at you and they're like, you killed my father, be prepared to die. And there's like screaming and shouting, but you as a player are not mentally there yet. You're not ready for that type of scene. You can do things like do thumbs down, and that will say, let's take it down a notch. If somebody comes at you and they whisper, you killed my father, prepare to die, and you are like, holy shit, this is it. This is the moment. You could be like, yeah. You can indicate to that person that you are ready for the scene. You want to jump into it. And that's kind of how we've been thinking about our dynamic negotiation, slow escalation. You know, a lot of these mechanics are literally built off of consent based around sex. So as you are negotiating anything consent, keep that in mind. This is exactly how it is designed to be. It is consent purely on this level of, are you okay with this? Can we move forward with this? And you need to move forward very gently, because people have different paces as they move into these scenes. And it really does help actually create incredible scenes if you slowly ramp it up. If you just jump in, you're asking someone to cold create a scene, and that usually takes a really incredible player or somebody who has been practicing or something. And so that slow escalation gives them a moment to kind of practice, a moment to mentally calibrate, and it ends up yielding some of the really best scenes. So I promise you will not be disappointed. We also have a series of hand signals. So imagine somebody comes up and starts yelling at me and I start sobbing, because it just kind of happens all the time. The thing that person could do if they're surprised or unsure if I as a player am okay, they can go like this. And it's a C shape. C shape. The C means I'm checking in. And my response as a player, if I'm sobbing, I can go, yes, I'm okay. I can go, I'm uncertain and we probably need to talk, or let's end the scene. If you end the scene, this is no questions asked. You are allowed to exit the space. If somebody ends the scene this way, please do not engage them unless they want to be engaged. This is them saying, I need space. I need to exit the scene immediately and go get breathing. This is all about mental safety. So just, and it happens, and you didn't hurt their feelings. Probably they're just taking care of themselves. And that's the thing to kind of remember here. If somebody is covering their eyes like this, that means that they are removed out of the scene. So do not engage them. They're actually, in theory, not there. And again, that's them looking down. For us, this is our out of character signal. So that means that they're probably trying, like, imagine you are being interrogated in a dungeon or something. You're like, guys, I actually really need to go. Something to that effect. It happens. And you just need a way to kind of dip out for a second and then dip back in. As I kind of stated before, if you want to increase the intensity of the scene, it's double thumbs up. If you want to decrease the intensity of the scene, it's double thumbs down. And that's kind of just our way of saying, like, for instance, I find really loud noises to be intense for me. It hurts my ears and all sorts of stuff. So if somebody is doing a scene, I may decide, like, to decrease it, or I might kind of wave my hands just for a quick negotiation and just be like, hey, I need you to decrease your yelling volume. It's actually hurting my ears. Something like that. And you could be like, I'm not scared or anything. It's just the volume is what's actually getting me. I'd like to continue with the scene. There is one new hand signal that is not in the book that I'm really excited to introduce. For me, this is a really important one because I'm very demi. And a lot of times in these events, I actually feel incredibly uncomfortable with romantic plots. So, similar to our C for the check in, if you were trying to engage somebody for a romantic plot or you're interested in romance or something more intimate, something like that, you can actually signal that person from across the room with a heart shape. That person then can respond with a thumb up, a neutral, or a thumb down. I kind of joke too that this is for all the nerds out there that suck with flirting. This is a really good way for you to go in and just be like, "Hey, can I flirt with you?" And somebody could go like, "Yeah," and you could be like, "Oh man, I really hate your hair," but they know it's flirting, and it's like, okay, just something like that, or whatever the weird way we want to flirt is. It's gonna help people feel a little bit more comfortable. It'll actually acknowledge what we're trying to do as well rather than just using a more standard check-in symbol. So some people, take romance and it's a very different type of set of skills for them. And so we just want to acknowledge that and use our own hand signal for it. The game has a few mechanics that I think are really interesting for people. You will have a lot of characters will have missing memories from their character sheets. The thing to note about this is the STs, the storytellers, or other players will actually have envelopes with your missing memories. The envelopes will actually state different requirements for you to accomplish getting that missing memory. And so if somebody seems a little bullish and trying to get you to go do something, they may actually be having an envelope for you and they're trying to encourage you to go do XYZ. So just be aware that you really will need an open mind while playing this game because other people may be encouraging you to go do things so you can unlock more of your character sheet. They are actually not allowed to tell you, and that's kind of part of our rule. You need to discover it yourself, and it's okay if you don't discover all the slots on all the missing memories on your sheet. Some characters have up to 5 missing memories, and they're really, really beautiful usually. But the thing is if you refuse to talk to a character or you're just intimidated by another player, you may miss out on those things. And so we highly, highly encourage just talk to everybody. If they encourage you to do something wacky, you probably should do it because it might unlock something really cool for your character. Our game structure, so when you come to the event, things to expect is we will be running workshops. The workshops are designed to get you more into character to stitch your kingdom together. That in particular is the Saturday morning one. Our Sunday morning one will do things like get you plugged into plot. We will literally ask who has too much plot, who has too little plot, and then we're going to start pairing people together, all sorts of stuff. And then we'll run ways to get you involved and ingrained into more things. We do this deliberately just to make sure that there's kind of this great levelizer, so that way, sometimes people just get a crap ton of plot because there's no more people or something like that. So we really want to spread the love and make sure that everybody is out there having a great time. This event is truly broken up into 4 acts. Each act is bookended with a vignette, and there are scenes interspersed inside of the act. So a vignette is a player-driven moment where we actually shine a spotlight onto a stage, and there's this kind of pre-rehearsed scenes with a selected cast of characters. We will be sending these out in advance. Like on the blurbs, for instance, I'll probably highlight which characters will be in vignettes if you would like to be sign up for one of those characters. The goal is to make sure that you're mentally prepared that you will be on a stage and with a spotlight on you. But the vignettes, we're trying to keep it to about 7 to 10 people in each one. But what they are designed to be these very public moments where everyone in the event hears and knows through basically a rumor mill that this event has occurred. And what's great about it is imagine that you have never interacted with this kingdom before, or you don't even know who the prince is or something like that. Now, because through the rumor mill, you heard about this entire event, you can actually go to that person, go, "Oh, I have what you need," or "I would really like to be of assistance," or you could tell them that you think they're a horrible creature or something like that. Whatever you want, but it's very public and you can do whatever you want with that information. And that's the vignette structure. Scenes, however, is when we will actually involve NPCs. We have kind of just this pre-structured kind of like global plot that's happening. And we use the scenes to kind of just help navigate that. They're very few, but we do use them as a way to engage people in things other than RP. Role playing, we use them as ways to kind of drive a little bit more of a global conversation. We actually do have 3 levels of plot. We have a character-based plot. The character-based plot is the thing that's controlling memories and all sorts of stuff. We have kingdom-level plots. Those are what plugs into our vignettes, and those are things that we are trying to reveal. All of the vignettes will end on a cliffhanger, not a resolution, so that way people can jump in and help out if they want to. Again, we're trying to create as many hooks and as much surface areas for the players to decide that their character should plug in as possible. And then the world plot is what will be represented through the scenes. And the scenes are, we're going to have lots of high props for it, along with some really beautiful actor NPCs. This is the thing these are what to kind of expect. We will guide first time players through a very entry level scene through workshops and things like that. You have nothing to panic about. This community has been incredible, and our staff will be there. Other players will be willing to jump in and help. It's kind of like from the very first workshop, you're going to feel pretty stitched in, I think. Again, thank you everyone so much.